Hello folks, today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite sections, and that is the Algebra of Geometry. So a couple of vocab words to start us off. The first one is midpoint. A midpoint is a point that divides a line segment into two congruent segments. A point that divides a line segment into two congruent or equal segments. Congruent segments. A bisector is like a midpoint, but instead of being a point, it's a line. So a bisector is a line which divides a segment or angle into two equal pieces. So a line which divides a segment or angle into two equal pieces. So a couple of diagrams to just kind of show you how that works. If I have a segment like this with points at both ends, a bisector could cut right through the middle of it. It would be a line, so it's got arrows at the ends, and then I could make two equal pieces. So I could put congruency marks there to show that those are two equal pieces. If I had an angle, I could make an angle, and a bisector could cut through that angle right down the middle, and it could divide my angle into two equal pieces as well. And I could show that with those two arcs. They're staggered, so they don't look like one single arc, but those two arcs mean that those two angles have the same measure. So coming down here, we're going to use equations to find angles. So we're going to make an equation out of this idea. It says ABC is a right angle, so we can put our right angle there. And then angle 1 equals 3x plus 4. And angle 2 equals x plus 6. And we want to find the measure of angle 1. So to do that, we use the idea of a right angle. So we say 3x plus 4 plus x plus 6 equals 90 together. And then that means we're adding these two angles together to make 90. So then we get 4x plus 10 equals 90, subtract 10. 4x equals 80, divide by 4, and x equals 20. However, our answer is not x equals 20, because our question said, find the measure of angle 1. And the measure of angle 1 is 3x plus 4. So we have to plug in 20 to 3 times 20 plus 4, which is 60, plus 4, or 64. So the measure of angle 1 is equal to 64 degrees. All right, the next one, find the measure of angle FOG. And for finding the measure of angle FOG, we are going to take this diagram, turn it into 180. So I'm going to say 4x plus 3x plus 2x equals 180, since those angles together add up to a straight line. So that's 9x equals 180. Divide by 9, x equals 20. But again, the answer is not 20, because this says to find the measure of angle FOG. So FOG is over here. And if I'm finding the measure of that angle, I've got 4 times 20, because FOG is 4x. That's 80 degrees. So the measure of angle FOG is 80 degrees. In the next example, I'm given two angles. The measure of angle 4 is 2x plus 5. The measure of angle 5 is x plus 30. And so those are vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? We know that vertical angles are congruent. So I can say that 2x plus 5 is equal to x plus 30, since those are the same measure, and then solve the equation. And I get x equals 25. But once again, 25 is not my answer. This says to find the measure of angle 4. So I can go in here to 2x plus 5 and put that in. 2 times 25 plus 5 gives me 55. So the measure of angle 4 is equal to 55 degrees. On to the next page. So this is one of my favorite problems. How much, or by how much, does x exceed y? So that means that x is bigger than y because it says x exceeds y. So we'll come over here. The first thing I see is vertical angles, and I say, oh, maybe I can set them equal to each other and say x plus 2y equals 50. But if I do that, I can't solve for x or y because that equation has two unknowns in it. So I have to think of another way that I can work on this. And I see x plus 2y and x minus 2y are supplementary. Together they make 180. So if I put that as an equation, I could say x plus 2y plus x minus 2y equals 180. And when I solve that equation, the 2y's cancel out. And I get 2x equals 180, which means x equals 90. And since x equals 90, I can plug that in wherever I see an x. So instead of x plus 2y, this value becomes 90 plus 2y. And if I have 90 plus 2y equals 50, there's only one unknown in that equation, and I can solve for it. So 90 plus 2y equals 50. I'm going to subtract 90 from both sides, get 2y equals negative 40, divide by 2, and I get I get y equals negative 20. All right, but again, that's not our answer either, because the question says, by how much does x exceed y? How much more is 90 than negative 20? So we'll say 90 minus negative 20, find the difference there. We get 110 degrees, right? Remember that minus the negative is like adding. So our answer is 110 degrees. Down here, we don't have diagrams anymore. We've got to make our own diagrams if we're going to use any. So this first one, we are given ray KJ is perpendicular to ray KM. So I'm going to draw ray KJ, starting at K, going towards J. And it's perpendicular to ray KM. So starting at K, there's a ray going out here towards M. And it also says JKO is 4 times as large as angle MKO. Now we don't have O yet, so we're going to have to draw O in here. So here's point O. And JKO is 4 times as large as MKO. So that means MKO is smaller. So since MKO is smaller and unknown, I'm going to call it X. JKO is 4 times as large, so I'm going to call it 4X. It's okay if we don't see this equation looking like, this diagram looking like it should be in proportion, because as long as we make a diagram and label it correctly, that's all we really need. It doesn't need to be to scale. So these two angles add up to 90. I can use that in my equation, right? It says they're perpendicular, so they must add to 90. So 4x plus x equals 90. That tells me that 5x equals 90. Divide both sides by 5, and you get x equals 18. But of course, 18 is not the answer. We have to take 18 and multiply it by 4, because 4x is JKO, and that gives us 72 degrees. So the measure of angle JKO is equal to 72 degrees. Next, we've got supplementary angles. Find the measure of 2 supplementary angles if one angle is 48 degrees more than the other. So I'm going to draw a supplementary angle diagram here. And I'm going to say, all right, I've got 2 angles. I don't know either of them. So I'm going to call the smaller one X. That's just sort of a technique that I do every time. The other one is 48 degrees more. So take this. 48 degrees more would mean this is X plus 48. And once I have that down, I'm going to say, together they're supplementary, so together they add to 180. So x plus 48 equals 180. So that's 2x plus 48 equals 180. Subtract 48 from both sides rather. And you get 2x equals 132. Divide both sides by 2, and you get x equals 66. So that's one of them, but it said find the measure of 2 supplementary angles. So here's one of the supplementary angles. The other one must be 48 degrees more. So 66 plus 48 equals 114. So the other angle measure is 114 degrees. This next example is probably the most confusing, but you will do some practice with example problems that are similar, so you can use this as a model until you get good at these. So it says the measure of the supplement of an angle is 6 times the measure of its complement. Find the angle, its supplement, and its complement. So in this case, we have an angle, and it is measured based off of its supplement and also its complement. So we're going to draw a complementary diagram, and we're going to draw a supplementary diagram, because we're going to need those both. And it looks like the supplement is based off the measure of the complement. It says the supplement is 6 times the measure of its complement. So in order to find the supplement, we need to find the complement first. So we're going to start over here at the complementary diagram. So here's an angle, right? This angle has a complement. We don't know anything about the angle and its complement except for that together they add up to 90 degrees. So the only thing that we can put for this space right here, the only way we can label this angle is as 90 minus x, because it's whatever is left over that makes this x add to 90. If x was 50, this angle would be 40, and 90 minus 50 is 40. If x was 10, this angle would be 80, and 90 minus 10 is 80. So 90 minus whatever this x is gives us the measure of this angle. So the angle and its complement are shown in this diagram. We also need to show the angle, the same angle, and its supplement. So the angle, x, is the same in both of these diagrams, because we're talking about the complement of angle x over here. And in this diagram, we're talking about the supplement of angle x. So when I get to the supplement of angle x, it says the supplement of an angle is 6 times the measure of its complement. If its complement is 90 minus x, its supplement is 6 times 90 minus x. And so we can just write 6 times 90 minus x. And now that we have the supplementary diagram filled out, we can use this as an equation to solve for x. So we can say that 6 times 90 minus x plus x equals 180. We're using the supplementary there. And we have to use the distributive property. So we've got 540 minus 6x plus x equals 180. And then we are going to combine our like terms. So 540 minus 5x equals 180. Subtract 540 from both sides. And we get negative 5x equals negative 360. Divide by negative 5. And we get x equals 72 degrees. So there's our angle. But not only do we want to find the angle, we also want to find its supplement, and we also want to find its complement. So the complement of the angle is whatever this angle would add together with to be 90. So 72 plus what equals 90, or 90 minus 72? Our complement is 18 degrees. The supplement is whatever 72 would have to add with to make 180. So the supplement is the same thing as saying 180 minus the 72. The supplement is 108 degrees. All right, for this final practice together problem, since we have the word bisect, BD bisects ABC, then we can say that these two are equal. So 2x minus 1 equals 20 minus x. And then solve that. So add x to both sides, add 1 to both sides. 3x equals 21. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 7. So we can plug that into either of these. So 2 times 7 minus 1 is 13. 20 minus 7 is 13. And we want to find the measure of angle ABC. So together, ABC is both the angles. So 13 plus 13. The measure of angle ABC is equal to 26. All right, so go ahead and work on the 1.3 worksheet and use these notes as an example for you. Have a great day.